my friends are heathens, take it slow.
What's going on, guys? I am World Stalker. You are on my channel. Thanks for being here. I wanted to show you some notes that you probably never seen and you probably never heard of from a bank you probably never heard of. These aren't world notes or country notes, but they're a part of history and a really interesting part of history. So hopefully this is new to you, so it'll be interesting. What these are the Bilotov or MMM Corporation notes. It was one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in history, and the MMM Corporation appeared after the fall of the Soviet Union when Russians were trying to embrace capitalism. But this is one of the biggest Ponzi schemes. Basically, what a Ponzi scheme is, well, in this case, the bank, they convince people to invest in the company, and kind of like a savings, but with huge interest. And instead of investing their money, they were just paying that interest and planning on stealing all the money, and that's eventually what they did. So people, on paper, it looked like they had lots of money, but in reality, they were only getting paid the interest, which was like, even though it looked big, it was a small percentage of their savings. So they cheated millions of Russians out of their savings, and it got so big they even started making their own bonds or share note. They're basically banknotes, and that's what these are. So there's a lot of history, and it's kind of hard to explain. So I wanna read this article about what these really are and what they were. So I'll try to hurry through it. The man behind the MMM Corporation was Sergei Mavrodi, a middle-aged Russian who concocted of a massive scheme to defraud millions of Russians of their savings. The other players are not clear, blah, blah, blah. The MMM Corporation swindled the people of Russia by creating a huge pyramid scheme. A pyramid scheme takes investors' money and offers a return invest on their money at unusually high rates. Investors paid the interest as expected, but the money used to pay the interest is taken from the investment capital itself or from deposits obtained by other investors. The money deposited by investors is never actually used to invest in business or commercial enterprises, but is simply used to make interest payments on the investments. As long as the rate of investors grow at a certain pace, each investor gets paid their interest, and they can even liquidate their entire investment. Of course, the bubble bursts when interest payments required to be made become greater than the money being deposited. The promoters of the scheme have an opportunity to use some of the investments as their personal wealth, although the money is used to pay interest to make schemes grow, mostly. If the scheme is well managed, the promoters make most of their profit on the final round of investments just before they disappear with the money. So basically they they prove themselves by paying the high interest, keep doing it, and then once they get popular, they do another round of investing and then just disappear with all of the money. Such schemes are not new, and in the post-communist era, many such schemes flourished in the countries of the former Soviet bloc or Eastern Bloc. What makes the MMM Corporation of interest is that not only were they one of the largest pyramid schemes, but they were also responsible for issuing share certificates that looked very much like banknotes, like these. The origin of MMM is not clear. Let's see. Many reports about MMM state activities in 91, but it appears their large promotional activities implemented in the scheme began in 94. The active marketing of the corporation was one of the significant aspects of the scheme. Twice the corporation paid for all travel on the Moscow Metro for a day to promote their company. And during the 94 soccer World Cup, they sponsored a Russian football team and cornered as much as 40% of television advertising in Russia during the event. Their aggressive marketing program, particularly on state-run TV, created much comment about their advertisements, became the most well-known commercials in Russia. In one advertisement, the Mexican soap opera star Victoria Ruffo was manipulated through computer graphics to endorse the MMM Corporation. Victoria Ruffo starred. The soap opera in which Victoria Ruffo had starred had been dubbed in Russian as was one of the most popular TV programs in Russia. The corporation's most famous TV advertisement portrayed a character named Leona, a seemingly common man who had transformed his life by investing in the corporation. He was seen holidaying in San Francisco, buying an apartment in Paris, and sometimes conversing with the friend Ivan, with whom he explained his success and defended his method of obtaining his wealth. Full page advertisements, blah blah blah. I mean, they promoted a lot, and they got huge. Basically, the whole country was looking to, it was the end of communists. They could start making money, embracing capitalism. They were looking for ways to get rich, or at least any kind of money. Although the Russian authorities had investigated the corporation and its associated companies on several occasions, they had done nothing to alert the people to issues surrounding the corporation's activities. Simply put, a pyramid scheme was not illegal in Russia, and they were legally selling shares, although it was later reported that they had sold far more shares than they were permitted to sell, and their promotion of part shares was also seen as contrary to legislation. When questioned as to how they were able to stay in such high returns on investment, spokesman of the corporation stated, when they were found, that they had solid investments, but they did not wish to disclose their investment policies for fear of competitors might take advantage. Yeah, it just goes on to say whatever. So, let's see. In 94, Mavrodi, the man at the head of the corporation who had become the sixth richest man in Russia, was arrested for the failure of Invest Corporation, one of his companies, to pay equivalent of $25 million in tax. Petitions from MMM shareholders to President Yeltsin sought the release of Mavrodi so that he might compensate the shareholders. It was suggested that the Russian government, MMM, and the union of MMM shareholders might join together to arrange compensation. However, Prime Minister Viktor Chernomyrdin stated that MMM had been violating legislations and that the government would not undertake to compensate anyone. Held in jail and waiting the conclusion of the investigation into his activities, Mavrodi continued to oversee his business activities. Shortly after the run on MMM shares was commenced, Mavrodi had suspended trading his shares and the Biletov, which is these. He then ambitiously chose to commence a second issue of shares, priced at 950 rubles, about 50 US cents, which he promised would be redeemed for 1,050. So 100 more rubles in the following week. These new shares were promoted by the MMM Corporation until October, rising steadily at a selling price, oh my god, 3,635 rubles in September. On October 5, in what appears to be a final full-page advertisement in Pravda, the new shares were quoted at a fantastic selling price of 16,500 rubles. This huge increase of the price of the shares appears to have been Mavrodi's attempt to sell one final round of shares before closing down his operation. Jesus. While in jail, he decided to seek asylum in the Russian parliament. Members of Duma are immune from prosecution under the Russian constitution, and so Mavrodi sought a seat in a Duma by-election, with election promises based on provisions of services to electorate through his huge wealth. Mavrodi swept to a victory on a voter turnout of only 30%. Yeah, he just goes on. He was a crazy dude. I wonder if he was ever well, anyways, it goes on. I mean, he got into parliament. He got all kinds of pardons. In '98, though, he was arrested again, but he disappeared. Or he wasn't arrested. A warrant was issued for his arrest, and he disappeared. But in 2000, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission brought a suit against Stock Generation, a company based in the Dominican Republic, using the interest as their promotional mediums. They had gained 275,000 investors in the U.S., up to 215% annual interest. Jesus, 215% annual interest. The moral of the story is the guy was crazy and he made billions. But here's the 1,000. Here's another 1,000. Is like the... Or no, this is 10,000. Yeah. There's 10,000, 1,000. Here's 500. And these aren't too expensive on eBay or whatever, but they're really cool in my World Note collection. Some cool history. There's the MMM billet. This is 500 Biletov. Here's the 100. They all got this Mavrodi dude. His picture on there. MMM. This just reminds me of Wall Street, the movie. This guy's just making bank while still in jail. There's the 50. A 20. And 2 ones. 2 different type. Type 1 and type 2. This one's kind of cool. So, yeah, what do you guys think about that? It's pretty crazy. These would go pretty cool in my collection, though, huh? I love history and really interesting stuff, and these are unique. These are really unique, so you're not going to find many stories like this out there. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Because now, you know the rest of the story.